Thanks very much, gentlemen, for your excellent testimony. And Dr. Zandi, longer term, we have to do lots of things, but short term, I think that both you and, to a degree, Dr. Mayer are saying there are steps that the conservative could and should be taken right now. In fact, one of the recent presidential proposals through HAMP, as you've noted, Dr. Zandi, for principal write-down modifications has given additional resources potentially to FHFA and to Fannie and Freddie to do that. And the question, I think, is why is it, it should be increasingly difficult for FHA to argue that they can't do it because of their obligation to preserve the portfolio, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, when in fact there are resources available that will make the calculation positive. Just a final point, too, one of the themes that I sense out is that, first of all, this settlement today I think is very encouraging, but that essentially goes to the paper owned by the banking institutions.
Correct.
And as many have noted, banking institutions, good businessmen and women, are making decisions about principal write-down, mortgage modification, not because they want to help the homeowner, but they're looking at their shareholders in the bottom line. So the business logic here is to get FHFA to do what business is doing and use resources that have been recently made available to start principal write-down modifications and add further momentum. And that can be done instantaneously. They don't have to wait for new statutory authority. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think first I'd like to say the principal goal of the conservator should be to preserve taxpayer money, right? I mean, we've anteed up $160 billion for Fannie and Freddie, and this is getting to be very costly, and I think it's prudent that the regulator focus on that. But in that context, I think there's many things that can and should be done. I think, for example, mortgage refinancing, facilitating more mortgage refinancing, it perplexes me why FHFA isn't being more aggressive here in trying to promote that activity. Now, we had HARP 2, the juiced up HARP, and that's progress. But even to this day, for example, I think HARP 2 rules, and we can describe what they are, but it facilitates more refinancing, should be extended to all Fannie and Freddie borrowers. But Freddie has different rules than Fannie, and it's just mucking up the process. This makes no sense and should be resolved, as an example. Moreover, REO to rental, I think everyone agrees, it makes, it's a slam dunk thing, I think. And I know it's a hard process, and we need to have pilot projects, and we're not sure exactly, and we don't want to give too much away to investors. I'm on board with that. But it feels to me that this should be moving at a much greater pace. And moreover, the third point, to your point, I am perplexed. I have my models, and I look at this data very carefully, with the argument that Fannie and Freddie don't believe in principal write-down. They believe in principal forbearance. Well, under some circumstances, under reasonable assumptions, principal write-down works better than principal forbearance. And just to completely say we're not going to have any principal write-down in a targeted way so we don't have moral hazard issues, I mean, I understand that. I think that's just a step too far. So as you can see from my voice, I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated by it.
You're not alone, because I've been arguing in REOs, for example, for 2+, 3+ years to move on that. That seems to be sort of something that's obvious, and I think, Dr. Mayer, you too feel that the REO issue is something that should be moved aggressively.
Yeah.
It should have been done.